Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I'm your host, the Dividend Aristocrat, and today we're going to be talking about my dividend income for the month of September. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm on my way to 2K and I post weekly investing content. Now in this video, I'll be covering my dividend income for the entire month of September, along with any changes I made to my portfolio and my portfolio as it currently sits. We have a lot to get through in the video, so let's get started. As a reminder, this is not financial advice and I'm just merely sharing my opinions on this channel. In total, I have invested a little over $30,000 into the portfolio. My current value sits right under $43,000, which is very close to a record high for me. In terms of unrealized gains, I am sitting at $12,975, which gives me a total return of 43.24%, which is absolutely fantastic. So far, since starting this portfolio, I have earned $1,213 worth of dividend income, and it is quickly increasing with a yearly projected income going forward of $720. That gives my portfolio yield a yield of 1.68%, and I don't mention it very often on the channel, but this is just my taxable account. I also have a Roth IRA as well as a 401k through my job, and for my Roth IRA in particular, I do have a higher dividend yield because that dividend yield is not taxed, but since this is taxable, I do prefer a lower dividend yield at 1.68%. Now, since price appreciation has outpaced dividend increases, my yield on cost is sitting quite a bit higher at 2.4%. As it currently sits, my cash position is about $7,900 and my total holdings are 22, which is actually down from a couple weeks ago when I had 23 holdings and before that 24. So if you guys want to check out my recent sells in my portfolio, I'll put both the videos talking about those sells right here. Now, taking a look right here, I always like to take a quick look at this table right here, which shows my amount invested and my dividends received from 2020 all the way to 2024. And in 2020, we can see right here that I invested $2,800 into the portfolio, and in 2024, I've already invested $4,300, which of course has surpassed that first year of investments. Now, my goal for the year is to invest $12,000 into the portfolio, and I have quite a ways to go if I want to get there this year, but I did invest very heavily at the start of this year, and since then I have cooled off on my investing. Now, if I see any big opportunities in the market, I will absolutely jump on them, but for now I'll have to wait and see. In terms of my dividend, we can see how quickly it's grown from $12.45 all the way to $489. And if we look at this graph right here, we can see that we finally surpassed the dividends of 2023. Now, it is only October right now, which leaves us 3 more months for the year. And December is usually my largest month of the year in terms of dividend income. So I'll be pretty far ahead of 2023 by the time this year ends. So before I show you my dividend income for this month, let's take a look at the My Pie section of my spreadsheet. Here I have everything broken down into multiple different pies. You can see right here my portfolio allocation. So it's divided between key to success, divine dividends, and speculative, and those are just the 3 main categories that I divided my portfolio into just for organization's sake. To me, I find this to be a very helpful way in allocating my investments and making sure that I'm not over invested into one particular category. Now, in terms of cash to stock, I'm currently sitting at about 15.5% cash and 84.5% stock, so definitely sitting on more cash than I'd like to, but in case there's a big dip, this will be pretty good for me, and if not, I'll have to start investing in the market regardless. Opening up the pies, we can see what's inside. So the key to success is the foundation of my portfolio, and it's my 2 ETFs, VOO and SCHD. VOO simply just tracks the S&P 500 and SCHD is a dividend-focused ETF. The goal of having these 50% of my portfolio is to make sure that I'm tracking the indices pretty closely, and of course the individual stocks are just to try to outperform by a little bit if possible. Now, my divine dividend section, I have consistent dividend growth companies that I plan on holding long term. Some of my biggest positions are Texas Instruments, S&P Global, and United Health, which all make about 6 to 7% of my portfolio. Now in yellow, we can see Lowe's and Home Depot, and the reason is because I've been considering either keeping one or the other instead of having both different holdings. I don't see the need for diversification since they're so similar. Now, I haven't gotten around to it yet because I'm still debating, but I think I'll make the decision pretty soon. Now, for my last section, I have my speculative section of my portfolio, and that's really just stocks that don't fit into any of the other 2 categories that I have laid out. In red are companies that are on the chopping block. I no longer want to be holding Ford, 3M, or Intel Corporation, probably, at least not long term, so we'll see what I do with those in the future. However, I am pretty confident in my holding in Amazon, and just a couple weeks ago I actually had Google in here as well, but since Google started paying a dividend, I thought it was more fit to just add them to my divine dividend section. Now, if it turns out that Google does not decide to grow its dividend going forward, then I'll definitely move it back to that speculative section, but if it continues to grow its dividend, then I'll be happy to leave it right here. So with that being said, let's take a look at my dividend income for the month of September. Right here we can see I have several different dividend payments, and the first one of the month was Visa. It was an amount of $1.57, which is not too much, and I reinvested it to get back 0.006 shares of Visa. That same day, I also got my Ford dividend at an amount of $1.21 for 0.109 shares of Ford. And although my Ford position is much smaller than Visa, they actually pay very similar dividends because the dividend yield on Ford is significantly higher. Now, I'm not really sure why I placed Intel after those two. Intel has clearly been paid out on the 1st of September, but that doesn't matter at all. It was paid out at an amount of $2.76, which reinvested into 0.128 shares. And this one's a kind of bittersweet one because I like the dividend income, but unfortunately, this is the last dividend we'll be receiving this year from Intel. And at least for the foreseeable future, we're not sure if we're going to be getting any more dividends from this company. On the 10th, I got a dividend from Target at an amount of $6.94, which is one of my larger dividend payers, and I also reinvested that, of course. And after that came S&P Global at $4.59. Continuing down the list, we have Microsoft at $3.05, Home Depot at $4.66, 3M at 77 cents, Google at $1.20, Northrop Grumman at $2.10, and United Health at $10.58, which is my largest single stock dividend in the month of September. Now, second to last, we have Union Pacific, and this is the company I recently sold, so I just left this area blank right here, but it was $1.38, and it was not reinvested, of course, back into the company because I sold my position in Union Pacific. And if you want to see the reasoning as to why, check out this video right here. But wrapping up this month is the most exciting one, and that's SCHD. It's an ETF, and it paid me the largest dividend of the bunch, $46.44, which reinvested to get about half a share of SCHD. Now, SCHD did announced that I will be doing a 3-for-1 stock split come October 10th, so I'm pretty excited for that. The stock price will drop to about, I think, $27 to $30 per share, and so that'll be cool to see. It doesn't really do anything to the stock price itself, but it just gives me more shares, of course, at a lower cost. Now, just to reiterate, there is no real benefit of a stock split aside from the shares being easier to buy for maybe retail investors. Now, when the news did drop, I was on vacation, so I couldn't make a video on this topic, but there are many other creators on YouTube that did a very good job covering this topic, so if you guys want to find out more, definitely check them out. Now, in terms of buys this month, the only buy that did execute was 3 shares of Google at $149.81, and I had several other orders placed, but of course, they never executed. They were limit orders based on specific prices. Now, I also made a video on this purchase, and you guys can check it out right here, but let me know down below whether you also picked up shares of Google or not during its big dip. Now, I don't show this every month because it does tend to come at the end of the month, but you can see that for the month of August, I got $30.13 for my money market fund. That's just the interest earned on the money sitting there. And I got $31.49 for September, and that's just interest on the money that's sitting there in my investment account that has yet to be invested. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go too deep into my portfolio holdings. I do have a lot of other videos covering these same holdings if you guys want to check them out on the channel, but basically right here is all the companies that paid me a dividend. I just organized them from my highest total return to my lowest. Keeping it brief, out of the companies that paid me a dividend this month, my best performing company was Microsoft at 82.73% total return, and my second best one was Google at 46.5%, but just keep in mind that I did recently buy some more shares, which of course brought up my cost basis and in turn brought down my total return. Now, some surprising ones are 3M sitting at 19% total return. I was in the negative for quite a while with this company. Now I'm finally in the positive yet again. It's currently sitting at about $148 of value for my current holding, and I'm going to keep holding on to it for a little bit longer, but we'll have to see. I have a problem where I don't like to sell companies. I'm definitely a buy and hold investor, so it's always hard for me to let go of any companies that I do decide to buy. However, this is only a very small percentage of my portfolio since I only own 1 share of 3M, so at some point I'm going to have to sell this company. I'm just not sure if it's going to be now or if it's going to be a year from now. Very hard to tell. If you guys have any advice, please leave it down below. I'll definitely be reading all those comments. Now, of course, my worst performing company, unsurprisingly, is Intel. I was actually in the green for just a little bit, like a week ago, when it surged in stock price, because I did manage to lower my cost basis when the company did dip. But right now I'm sitting at minus 10%, and I'm just not a big fan of what they've been doing recently. As you saw in the MyPie section, this company is on the chopping block, so we'll have to see where it will go from here. Now, sorting instead by annual payout, we can see that my largest annual payout is SCHD at $175.85, and my second largest one is $42.46 from United Health, but surprisingly, Target comes in third at $27.95. Now, 3M is near the bottom at $3.08, and Intel, of course, is the last one because it's kind of no longer a dividend paying stock. Going forward, they haven't announced if they're going to be paying any more dividends, at least not for the next quarter. Moving down into my monthly breakdown section of my portfolio, we can see the dividends received every month since I've started investing in this portfolio and the amount I've invested every month since I started investing in the portfolio. Now, this month I got paid a total of $87.25. You can see here highlighted in green is my record month across all the years at $124.11. Now, I do believe that VOO is paying in October, so we won't be able to beat that record just yet, but maybe in December we'll be able to beat it if SCHD and VOO pay on the same month. Now, this graph does a great job showing my dividend growth growth over time. It is sporadic because it's mostly led by my ETF since they make up such a large position in my portfolio, but we can see that over time it is trending upwards, and as time goes on, this will look more and more clear. Now, I do want to take a look at my dividend calendar. I think it is a fantastic way of visualizing my dividends over the past year, and if you guys have any feedback about this, please let me know down below. I've only recently implemented this dividend calendar into my portfolio, and I'm still working out some kinks with it. Now, for the month of September, we can see that our dividends are highlighted in blue, and for the month itself, we got $87.25 like we just covered, and $4.89 for the entire year so far. Now, something that's really nice here is that it's very easy to visualize how the dividends are growing over time. Ford actually does pay a special dividend, which is why you'd see a $257 payment here, but then we have $120 and then $121, very small growth, but as it reinvests, it's going to compound. And if we want to see a more dramatic example, you can see Altria Group at $22.17, followed by $22.69 and $23.19, so it's nicely growing over time. Now, of course, the larger these dividends are, the more noticeable these changes will be, but mine are still pretty small because the portfolio value is still relatively low. Another nice feature is it does show me how much I've earned from each company throughout the year. So we can see right here that I've earned $55.50 from Texas Instruments so far, which is fantastic. If you do have a strong preference between the dividend calendar and the monthly breakdown, I would love to hear it, but if not, I'll continue doing both just in case. Now, to wrap up this video, it will be nice to take a look at the future value calculator just to see where our portfolio will be at this rate in the next 10, 20, 30, or even 40 years. And if you want to see how to make one yourself, I posted a tutorial on the channel a couple months ago, and you can check it out right here. So my starting principle is just the current value of the portfolio, which is sitting at $42,984, and my annual contribution is how much I expect to be adding in each year, which in this case is $12,000 or $1,000 per month. Now, the annual dividend yield is just the current dividend yield of this portfolio, and my expected dividend increase can be whatever numbers I want it to be. In this case, I'm going to make it 5% to keep it on the more conservative side, but I am going to go more aggressive on expected price appreciation at 10%. Now, we can see that after 10 years, the portfolio value should be sitting at $285,000, and my total dividend earned so far by that point will be $18,840. Now, where investing really begins to shine is when we look at larger time frames. If we take a look at the 30-year time frame, we'll be sitting at a portfolio value of right under $3 million and a total dividend earned by that point of $157,000. Now, assuming that you have the time for 40 years, which of course many of us do not, you would be sitting at a portfolio value of $8 million or a total dividend earned of $310,000 during that time, which is absolutely absurd. As always, this does bring us to the end of today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive into my dividend income for the month of September. If you made it this far into the video, you should definitely leave a like and comment down below your dividend income for this month. I'd love to hear it. If you haven't yet watched last week's video where I talk about my recent sell in the portfolio, check out this video right here. And if you want to see this video covering realty income and its fourth dividend increase this year, check out this video right here. Remember, the best time to invest was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. I want to thank every single one of you guys for watching, and I will see you next week.